to another one of my videos. This one is for Eureka Math, Engage New York, Module 1, Lessons 1 and 2 kind of combined. We're just going to introduce ratios with this lesson. After this lesson, you should be able to write a ratio in 3 different ways. And you will be successful today if you can identify the two quantities being compared. Remember that order matters, and that's really important with ratio, and can correctly write the ratio in the 3 different ways we will talk about. There's a video you were going to watch in Khan, and there's a link on that in Canvas, so make sure you watch that video before you go on, because we're going to be kind of referencing what they went over in there. Then we're just going to take some notes. Then after this, we're going to do lesson 1 and lesson 2 problem set. And there will be a Khan lesson later on that we'll be working on if you're in my class. So we're just going to talk about how to get through these. We're just going to take a few notes and get into what a ratio is. In the video, they talk more about that, so I want you to watch that video. If you haven't done that yet, go ahead and watch that video, and there should be a link in it from Canvas. So go ahead and make sure you watch that. We'll continue on with this. What a ratio is a ratio says how much of one quantity, and this is our definition of a ratio. A ratio says how much of one quantity there is compared to another. And that will be our definition we will use. So how much of one quantity there is compared to another. And a ratio can be written using a colon and the word to and as a fraction. And we're going to, next slide, we'll kind of model those. And also order matters. That's what you need to remember, is order matters. So let's talk about that. Let's go to the next slide and talk about that, okay? So here's an example. This is made for a class. Since we don't have a class here, we're just going to kind of make it up. So let's say we have a class that there is, let's say there's 15 girls in the class and 12 boys, okay? So the number of boys to the number of girls in our class. So the key is they want the number of boys to the number of girls. So in our ratio, the boys comes first, so that would be 12 to 15. So they want boys to girls. So that's one way you could write it. The other way you could write it is 12 with the colon. And these are read the same way. Both these are read 12 to 15, 12 to 15. So the other way you can write it, and we'll be using this a lot, is 12 over 15. So you can write it as a fraction. And then we can also simplify this. We're going to be talking more about that in the next lesson and doing a lot more with that. But just realize now, today's lesson is just on writing it. You can write it using the word to, using a colon, and as a fraction. So let's go with this next one, the number of girls to the number of boys. So this one wants the number of girls first, and then the number of boys. So it would be the girls is 15, so it would be 15 to 12. So even though we're using the same numbers, these are very different ratios. So 15 to 12, because it's asking us the quantities, the order of the quantities is different. So number of girls to boys is 15 to 12. So the 3 ways we could write it is using our word to, so 15 to 12, using the colon, we still again would say 15 to 12, and 15 over 12 or 15 to 12. Okay, now the last one asks for the number of girls to the total in our class. So they want the girls to the total in our class. Now we didn't have the total, but we can figure out the total because the class is made up out of girls and boys. So if we add those two together, our total would be 27. So we want girls, so the number of girls would be, again, number of girls is 15, and the total in the class is 27. So that would be our ratio of girls to total. And we could write it using the word 2 also, which would be 15 to 27, and then we could write it as a fraction, which would be 15 over 27. So that's what you're going to be doing today, is writing these ratios in these different formats and figuring them out. Sometimes you're going to have to be doing some adding and subtracting to figure out missing parts, because you can find different ratios giving the different information. So that's what you're going to be doing today. Okay, that's really all we're going to talk about today, is how we can write ratios. Tomorrow we're going to go into simplifying them and finding equivalent ratios, and we'll work more on that tomorrow. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.